Hey, hello Skateboard Canada fans. How are you? It's Roger Brinsma from Skateboard Canada headquarters. Happy to be back with you once again to talk a little skateboarding. Summer of 2021. We were just in Medicine Hat. Big competition there. A lot of great people showed up. Hope you could join us for that. The Beat the Heat contest in the books. We're looking forward to 2022, of course. A long ways away. But hey, summer, summer, summer. Okay, so good times down at Skateboard Canada. As you know, a lot of cool things come to the skate shops. Always new stuff coming to your local skate shop. You make sure you head down there and keep in touch with them, grab a new thrasher, do what you got to do. Speaking of thrashers, we're going to have Kevin from the Look Back Library shortly as our special guest. He's going to be joining us. He's on the road traveling around collecting magazines and distributing magazines from the skateboard world, setting up libraries in skate shops all over America. He can't get into Canada, but we'll talk about that with him shortly. Okay, so new stuff coming to your skate shops. You know there's always new stuff coming at you. It's really cool. Where do you start? There's so much stuff. Where do we start? Let's go with the small stuff. Aaron Winkowski, you got your raw bearings from Bronson. Super sick. He just had a really cool board come out too that just sold out like hotcakes. But go down to your shop, grab some of his super cool Bronson bearings. Aaron Winkowski, putting his stamp on skateboarding. What a rocker. Canadian guy, TJ Rogers. Bones. These have been out for a month or two or three. Support your local skate shop and support your local Canadian pros. Everybody's local in Canada, right? Super cool. TJ Rogers and the Bones Wheels formula. You know you can't go wrong with those. Now these are not a Canadian guy. Miles Silvis, super badass rocker for Spitfire. Everybody knows Miles. These just came out. They're hot. Spitfire wheel formula, one of the best in the game. Big thanks to Deluxe. They were also a big sponsor at Beat the Heat in Medicine Hat. So big thanks to Deluxe and Super Distribution. All right, switching gears just a little bit. We've been trying to wrangle this guy in for an interview. We're going to keep trying. Jeremy Docklin, hope you're watching. We love what you're doing with film trucks. Busy guy working out of France. Check these ones out. They just came out. Gotta dig them. Gotta dig them. Always good things from Film Trucks. Good stuff. Ed Banger Records, a little collab they're doing with them. Super cool. Now also, funny little thing they threw in here, but this is kind of funny, but the Smoking Curb Club from Film Trucks got thrown little rolling papers and cardboard filters for those so inclined. And yeah, just kind of fun little stuff that they throw in with the packages sometimes. Very cool. Once again, big ups to Jeremy Docklin and Film Trucks. Now, same guys in van sent us these Vulcan Bearings, hooking up Ninja Jinja. That's a good thing. Yeah, so we're gonna give these a try. These just rolled in, something new into our little situation. And yeah, just check them out. Get some time. Always good to support the little guys. What do you put in your bearings? The Powell Speed Cream. This stuff's legendary. Never go out of style. Very cool. Go down and get a bottle of that, you guys. May save your bearings, make you go real fast. Powell Speed Cream. Bones. Can't go wrong. Okay, now a couple new stickers. This is some cool stuff. We like the stickers because stickers are cool. Never get old. Birdhouse sticker packs just rolled in. How cool is that? Super sick, right? Love that stuff. Stickers never get old. Skateboarders, we own the sticker game. Everybody knows that. Coolest stickers in the game, the skateboard guys. Check that out, just kind of cool. Birdhouse. Neat. I guess I can go that way, right? But, oh! Very cool. Look at that one. Yeah, birdhouse. Sick. And last but not least, Lizzie. Lizzie, she broke her leg. Did you see the Lizzie slam? The Lizzie slam was horrific. So, Lizzie, we hope you're healing up well. Broke her leg doing the mega ramp jump. Psycho. Lizzie, hope you're good. Okay, now a couple boards. Now boards are so heavy, but we still want to talk about them. These are all Canadian guys. Super cool. Calgary legend, Chuck Bell. Y'all remember him, right? Chuck Bell, freewheeling. Just got a little box. Chuck Bell. Say what's up to Chuck next time you're up in Calgary if you see him around. Support freewheeling, 45th anniversary. Big ups, congratulations to Chuck Bell and the Bell family. Freewheeling. Long timers in the game, Calgary legends. So very cool. Chuck hand screened these himself How dope is that? And check this out. I've always wondered, who is this guy? Is that BB? Who's doing the lean air on that freewheeling? This is a sticker I remember seeing on people's boards back in the day, but this is the old freewheeling sticker. And the old graphics. So anyways, Chuck, silk screening these, put them on boards. Yeah, super cool. Thank you so much, Chuck. Hope you're good up in Cowtown. What did we get? Remember these guys? We had them on the show. Big, beautiful boards. Yeah, they rolled in some boards. How sick is that? The pinup board. He was talking about the graphics on these boards, and voila, they showed up. So very cool. Big, beautiful boards out of Toronto. And the boards look great, by the way. Make sure you go into your shop. Ask for the big, beautiful boards. Now, these are not Canadian, but these are Canadian pros. TJ Rogers. How sick is that? Got that Reaper graphic, eh? These guys been running these graphics for how long? Who cares? They're sick. They're hooking these guys up. Dwindle, looking after the Canadian pros. TJ Rogers. You may have just seen a clip at him at Driftopia. Well, this is his pro model. Go get it from the skate shop, you guys. Rush in there. Mickey Papa. Another crazy heavy guy. Heavy guy. Red Dragon. Dang, like, come on. These guys got pro boards, right? You gotta hook these guys up. Help your Canadian pros out. That's right. Make sure you look after them. All right, Canadian companies. All right, Craig Williams, thank you very much. Cuts and Bows. Fisherman Friendly. There you go, the Stale Fish Fishery. How cool is that? So thanks very much, Craig Williams. Yes, Ultimate Skateboards. Putting out some good wood. Little side project for Craig and his business partners. All right, real quick one. This is a one out of Southern Alberta. Luminous, kind of funny. But the thing I like about this one is they did the top graphic. That's pretty cool. Hey, good job, Luminous. And they're hooking up this 10-year-old kid named Nate that is destroying the bowl in Lethbridge. Just saying. Just saying. Keep an eye on Nate. Very cool. Saw him ripping the other day when we were down for Beat the Heat. Olive Skateboards. Been in the game a long time. OSM. Olive Skateboards Manufacturing. Randy Jesperson. What up? Look out for these boards. They're in shops across the country and all over the world. Olive's been in the game for a long time. Put out in quality skateboard products. Got to give them some press. Wiener Dog, they were also guests on the show. Nate Truss. How sick is that graphic? Come on. These guys, good product. Sharp looking. Graphics all around. Good job, you guys. And thank you for coming on Skateboard Canada. That was awesome. Super cool. Good looking boards. All right, Kitsch, Dermer. Pretty cool. James Clark. He rides for Kitsch. Got the funk. I'm trying to get the glare off that. Very cool. Styling graphics. Everyone knows Kitsch graphics. Andrew Pommier. Legendary stuff. Very cool. Thank you, Kitsch. Thank you, Dermer. Known Dermer for a long time. Very cool. Now, Canoe. They're funny guys. Northern Alberta. Funny stuff. Very cool. Keep it local. Rad. All Canadian. Apparently they have some new graphics about to hit. Keep an eye out. We'll talk about them next time if we can get them. We're in negotiations. Last but not least, Pylon. OSM. The legend. Alex Chalmers needs no introduction whatsoever. Chalmers, like the illest of the ill. Fly over your head and then over another guy's head, Chalmers. 360 kickflip indie Chalmers. True beast, so sick, very cool, high quality boards. Made in Canada. Support your Canadian skateboard brands, folks. Go down to that skate shop, look at the wall of decks and pick out the one you want, but consider the Canadian brands because they're just so rad, man. Everything from Pylon to Wiener Dog to Canoe, big beautiful boards. Can't go wrong. Okay, speaking of Canadian action, there's a cool company called Totally Rad Skateboards, and they have a pro named Chris Kendall. Chris Kendall has been kind enough to make videos and help us out a little bit in the past, Skateboard Canada, and Kendall is back. Kendall, take it away.
How's it going, guys? This is Chris Kendall from therawadvantage.com, registered holistic nutritionist, raw food lifestyle coach, and raw chef. From some of the past segments I've done, people have asked the question, but what about the sugar in fruit? How much fruit is too much? Isn't it too much sugar? This is a great question, and one there's a lot of misinformation out there due to fruit being lumped into studies done on processed sugar and fructose. Now, fruit is very different from processed sugar, which is completely refined of all of its co-minerals and nutrients and water content and fiber, whereas on the other hand, of course, fruit comes with all those co-nutrients like vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and flavonoids and bioflavonoids and all the fiber and the different types of sugars, some faster absorbing, some slower absorbing, and water content, which again also regulates the speed of the digestion of the sugars. Now, there have been exhaustive studies done on this, in fact, and some found out in a roundabout way the importance of fruit. There's a study called the 2010 Global Burden of Disease Study that took over numerous years with 500 researchers from 300 institutions in 50 countries that found out in the United States, the leading cause of death and disease comes from dietary factors, and the second leading cause of death and disease comes from smoking. Now, within the diet, they found the absolute worst aspect of the United States diet is not eating enough fruit, pinning down the leading cause of death and disease in the United States coming from not eating enough fruit. Fruit is nature's perfect food made for us. Simple sugars are our preferred fuel source, fueling every cell in our body except for some in the heart. It's actually been put to the test, and when in controlled settings people eat 20 plus servings of fruit per day, it's been shown time and time again that there's no negative outcomes and in fact only positive benefits, and that there's no perceived upper limit. If there's any potential negative outcomes, it's the biggest doo-doos you've ever seen. But you may ask, what about if I have blood sugar issues or if I'm a diabetic? Interestingly enough, the absolute best way to reverse diabetes is to lower the fat and increase the carbohydrate content, ideally from fruit, otherwise cooked carbohydrates. My friends Robbie and Dr. Cyrus Kambadi, they put together a complete program, a New York Times best-selling book, and a website called masteringdiabetes.org, where they go really in-depth into the science of this, showing that fruit isn't the issue with blood sugar disorders. It's actually an excess of fat in the diet as well as in the muscle tissue that create a situation called insulin resistance, where your insulin isn't really functioning well and doesn't allow the sugar to get out of your bloodstream and into your cells. So that brings up the question, how much fruit is too much fruit? It's really hard to overdo, especially if you're just paying attention to your enjoyment, focusing in on the fruits you absolutely love the most, and eating them up to that point where you're like, I'm good, not stuffing it, not forcing it. As time goes on, your ability to eat larger amounts improves, especially if you're also reducing the overall fat content of your diet, processed fats like oils and processed food, and instead including more whole foods in your diet. I hope this clears that up for you guys. If you have any other questions, write below or check me out at therodvantage.com. Now back to the studio with Roger.
Thanks so much, Chris. That is so cool. Chris keeps going a little further down this road, and if you joined us for an episode or two before, he started with the bananas and the fruit and he's working his way up. It's really cool. We much appreciate the advice from Chris Kendall, professional skateboarder for Totally Rad Skateboards. And I'll tell you what, I'm eating a lot more bananas myself, and I feel great. So thanks, Chris. Much appreciated. From one great guest to another, I talked to next Kevin from the Look Back Library. And you know what? I was down and I visited Kevin in San Diego, and he handed me a smoothie when I walked in his door because he's a vegan and he watches what he eats, and he's on the right side of the coin when it comes to taking care of himself also with the diet and nutrition. So another very cool guy. Kevin, you've been on the road. Let's talk to Kevin. We're going to talk to you right now. Kevin.
Hello, Roger. It's Kevin here.
Hey, awesome. Kevin, good to see your smile again. I hope you're well and your travels have been good.
Yeah.
Folks, let me just kind of take one step back and I'll tell y'all a little bit about Kevin and how we met in the first place. Kevin, you're from the Look Back Library. You run a magazine preservation. I'm going to let you expand on that. But my introduction to you was that you are, to me, the #1 skateboard magazine guy in the world. You're really keeping the dream alive as far as keeping these mags out of the garbage bins, recycle bins, and using them as educational sources for the future generations. And you're getting the pros who were on the covers of these magazines to talk about what happened to get them on the cover of the certain issues. So that's me rambling, but Kevin, tell me what's going on. What's going on, Kevin?
Well, currently I'm on a library building trip. I left San Diego, where we are based, at the end of May. I think this morning in my journal it was day 53, 54, somewhere like that. And I still have another little over a month to go before I get back to San Diego. I've built libraries in California, Oregon, Washington, and Montana so far on this trip. I did a tour of all the evergreen skate parks in Montana, hit 17 different evergreen parks in 22 days. Yeah, just always, I've been accepting magazine donations as I've been out visiting the different skate shops and skate parks in this area in the Northwest. And you and I missed each other. I was so close to you. I was only 90 minutes away from you in Lethbridge there when I was in Shelby. I couldn't quite tell if Browning, Montana or Shelby, Montana was closer to you, but I was in both places and yearning for you to be able to cross the border and join me for a skate. But just our governments just kept us apart.
That's how it goes, right? Skaters versus the government, it'll never end. So it is. You were on the road. You made it all the way to Shelby. Now, they got a brand new park in Shelby, Montana. Talk about evergreen skate parks. Are they different skate parks? I've skated one or two, but what was it like to skate all those super sick evergreen skate parks, Kevin?
Well, they are definitely unique. They all have some similar aspects to them. They're eccentric, they're unusual, and I think they provide kind of never-ending opportunities and lines, and just possibilities are endless from my perspective. Some people have described a lot of their parks as moonscapes. They have a major snake run feel to them, and sometimes other people have used the term like a racetrack, where you kind of can do loops around the outer part of the park and then dip into a bigger bowl that's more in the center. I don't know. I find them all to be unique and challenging, and they'll use different types of coping. There's noping, pool block, steel coping, and they definitely do have more of a bowl feel to them. Not as much street aspects in the designs. A lot of the designs that I skated here in Montana. So I'm just a big fan. Some of the more recent designs have bigger bowls, 8 to 10 feet bowls, kind of in the center or on the side. But overall, most of the walls are 6 feet and under, and there's a lot of opportunities to transfer from one part of the park to another. And I'm not very good at that anymore, but I love the just getting a little tap of air and going from one to the other is still very it just makes you feel like you can still fly just a little bit.
I had a lot of fun. Yeah, it's just fun, right? It's fun skating. There's not as many stairs and rails. I noticed that. I've really only been to the one in Browning, Montana, but really a lot of flow and, like, say, transfers.
That's a
really
great
cool
example. Yeah, Browning's a great example. That ended up being one of my favorite ones out of the 17.
Yeah.
That I rode in Montana, and I'd like to go back there for sure. There weren't that many kids there. That I was there on a weekday morning, and just had a few hours there, and so I didn't really get to meet any of the locals that really knew how to skate the place, and but they're out there. And
now, Kevin, do you make a map, or do you have a plan before you leave San Diego, Look Back Library headquarters, and then you head out? And I know you want to get some signatures from pros on the covers of the magazines that they're featured on, but how much of a plan do you make before you head out on the road in the summertime like this?
Great question. I usually the plan starts with where I know we're going to have planned libraries to build. How many shops have I talked to in the last 6 months that have expressed an interest in having a library? And that kind of gets squeezed down into the plan as far as the geography goes. I'm going to go from pawn shop to Solvang skate shop to Sac Ramps in Sacramento to Milk in Corvallis, Oregon, and then to 35th Ave in Federal Way, Washington was my main trip. So I knew I was going to build 5 libraries, and kind of the soonest I could get on the road was the end of May. And so I built those 5 libraries, but along the way, I went to a few other skate shops that I hadn't been to, and I think we've built 11 libraries so far. One at Spirit Skate Shop in Kalispell, Montana. There was Noping in Olympia, Washington. The Method is a new shop that's getting ready to open in Tacoma, where we've got a small library all set up. We did Black Market in Seattle, as well as a new shop called Pops Everett in Everett, Washington. So the planning always starts there. And then the second parameter is, where do I have sizable magazine donations lined up? Because if you are interested in donating magazines to us and it's a sizable amount, generally nobody wants to pay to ship those to us. So I end up having to kind of schedule or plan my routes around where those magazine donations might be. And we had one out in Beaverton, Oregon this year. And there's just been a few other handfuls of magazine opportunities that I've picked up along the route. And so there's X amount of cities I know I need to go through. I also factor in a handful of friends that I want to visit along the way, and then also which skate parks are along that route. What spots, DIY spots. I'm always screenshotting things on Instagram that look fun to skate, and I'll do research to find out where they are, and I integrate those into my route plans. And I knew this year wasn't going to be very active as far as skateboard events. In a normal year, pre-COVID, I would be doing either a magazine exhibit tour or sticking close to California, where I could do specific single-day events at other skateboard events, whether it be the Vans Park Series or just art shows or whatever the things, the events might be that would draw skateboarders together and give me an opportunity to present a selection of cool magazines to have on display for an evening. But since I knew that a whole lot of events wouldn't be happening this year, that's when I came up with this idea to skate all the evergreen parks in Montana after I'd done my West Coast builds. And Montana is a very unique state because Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam donates a lot of money, and there's an active skate park association in Montana that really helps get a lot more parks built in underserved and very small communities there in Montana. So I went, Montana's a very large state, and I went from basically every corner of the state, skating parks, everywhere I went, basically.
Now, Kevin.
So now that is completed. I'm spending a little bit of time in Boise, and then I'm off to Reno, and then to Visalia YMCA Skate Camp for a week to do some zine workshops and and just to experience the lake up there at the skate camp that we've all seen in the videos over the years, and
Yeah,
jump
no
ramp
doubt.
into the lake. And then Scott Bourne has been living in France for, I don't know, 15 years now, and he's coming to the Bay Area in August, and I've been in touch with him, and that's somebody I want to do a covers discussion with. I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so we'll do a covers discussion and have him sign his covers.
Super cool.
I need to
Super cool.
link up with Ron Allen and Rick Ibaseta when I go back into the Bay Area after skate camp.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of another thing that you wanted me to touch on was
The pros.
just in the
Yeah.
last just this year, I think we've been doing a little video feature called covers discussions, where in the past when I would have pros sign covers, I would just take a picture of them holding their covers, or seated at a table where they had their covers in front of them.
Yeah.
But the public wouldn't get any of the backstory about this, whatever little story the pro had about that, what happened that day, or was it a make, or was it, did he have to go back and film it later? Or,
Cool.
there's
Yeah.
always little bits of really the minutia, the details that I love to learn about, and I know other people share that same interest. And so I've started with select pros, if the situation lends itself to where they have a little bit of time and can kind of sit down and share some of those stories, I just film them and edit a little clip together, and so that's, I put one up a week every Sunday. We put up Tyler Bledsoe today, and Ragdoll was last week, and so that's another part of my route planning, to kind of go back a little bit. Once I know what major cities or what part of the countries I'm going to, I already have magazines slated for different regions that I'd like to get autographed should the opportunity arise to meet with John Rattray or Silas Baxter Neal, a couple of guys that I met with in Portland this year, Ben Cron and Peter Watkins. So, if it's a part of the country that I don't get to very often, and certain riders don't really travel to California very often, I want to make an effort. Like I was hoping to be able to see Corey Kennedy this trip, and that sounds like he's on house arrest for another year. He's out of prison, but on house arrest, and it didn't work for me to get over to Vashon Island. But I did see Steve Olson, who's living back in Olympia now. So
how was that? Steve Olson was always one of my favorite pros. Shorty Steve Olson, we're talking here.
Right. He's very eclectic and thoughtful, and has a very unique perspective on skateboarding. And he's still skating, but he just had a daughter, and he's getting into the Carpenters Union up there in Olympia, and he's just kind of moving into new phases of life. And but he's somebody, I worked at Foundation back in the 90s, and I knew Steve from back then when he rode for Foundation, and cool. And we would see each other. He lived in San Diego for many years when he was on Shorties, so I would see him at the food co-op and just around town, and so it always helps when, for these covers discussions, if I have some sort of background with the pro, it can be a little awkward, when you pitch somebody the idea and they don't really know the scope of the project that I'm working on with the library, but I've been grateful. We have over 30, I think about 35 up on our YouTube channel, and they're kind of mirrored. They're on our YouTube as well as our IGTV. That's where most people see him, is on the IGTV,
Yeah.
Instagram TV. And got quite a few in the bag. I'll continue to work on some on the road, and then when I get back to California in September, I'll be working on more for pros in the area, or in the Southern California area anyhow. Sometimes I feel like a detective in trying to track people down. I remember tracking Henry Sanchez down at his work outside Sacramento, and Richard Paez was a interesting one to try to track down in Visalia. And so it kind of runs the gamut. We'll have big name pros that have quite a few covers, but we'll also have kind of a guy that's faded out, like Butch Sturbins was, had a cover in 1990, a Thrasher, and that was kind of it. But
where's Butch Sturbins nowadays? I haven't heard that name for decades,
Sturbins
Kevin.
He's in Oceanside.
Sick.
He works kind of a straight job, but still skates. And I stumbled onto him at this Dennis Martinez kind of skateboarding Hall of Fame induction party that happened earlier in this year.
What's Richard Paez up to? I'm curious.
Well, he's trying to kind of just getting back on his feet. He was in the big house there for a little while.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to get back out on his feet. I think his brother Jesse is a destroyer.
Yeah. Sorry.
Jesse's definitely skating more, I think, than Richard is right now. But
okay.
But
yeah,
Richard was an example of somebody that was just so excited and so thankful that I reached out to him, and wanted to hear his story, because his covers were in the late 90s, and that's kind of a distant part of his past, and for somebody to come at him and be like, "Hey man, this is awesome, let's talk about these," I think was very refreshing for him.
Yeah. Now, what got you started with this, Kevin? Obviously, you're kind of pioneering a little bit of something here with preserving magazines, and then also just kind of reaching out to the pros and giving that respect, and then getting the signatures. And do you feel like you're kind of leading a movement here, or are you just kind of doing what you feel is your duty for skateboarding, or what's going on in your head, Kevin, with this? How did this start?
As far as how it started, I grew up in Kansas, skateboarding in the mid 80s, and I felt very isolated from the greater skateboarding community. I had a handful of friends, and skateboarding was visible in Kansas, but it was not huge, and we were ridiculed and messed with quite a bit. But so once I found Thrasher and Transworld, I immediately subscribed to them, and those, every month when those magazines would come in the mail, it was that was like the holy grail, and that's where I learned so much about skateboarding.
Yeah.
And what its history is, and what it's all about, and the current events, and who's doing what, and where the skate parks are, and so from those early days in 1986, I've kept my magazines and collected them, and anytime a new magazine would pop up in the US, whether it be Power Edge, Slap, Big Brother, Skateboarder, Juice, I always had subscriptions. And when I moved to Colorado to go to college, the magazines came with me. When I moved to San Diego in mid 90s, the magazines came with me. And when I started working at Foundation in 95, I was the international sales manager, and that kind of opened more doors, because I started to become more familiar and worked directly with a lot of the distributors that made the international magazines, like Limited in Germany and Sidewalk in the United Kingdom, and um, sugar in France, and so being the international guy at Tamieto allowed me exposure to all these international magazines that, I mean, so now with the whole preservation end of things and the archiving, we're set out, or my goal is to have one set of everything that's ever been made or that's ever been printed about skateboarding.
Yeah.
And that can include books, magazines, self-published zines, catalogs, and then VHS and DVD is something we're also dabbling in. It's not as much of a focus as the paper, but that's also, I think, important to catalog. And getting back to why, so I learned about skateboarding through all of my magazine subscriptions, and as we started to lose magazines in the 2008 Slap left, Big Brother was 2004, so like nobody, there was a time where it was basically just Thrasher and Transworld. We had Juice, we had Low Card, we had Skate John, but we just, nobody was, there was no master archive of all these magazines that had started to go out of business, and Larry Flint's not keeping track of all the Big Brothers and so I just once I left Tamieto and started my own distribution company and ran that for 10 or 12 years and kind of got burnt out on that and wanted to stay involved in skateboarding, but didn't want to have to sell anything anymore. And I had a couple of years of travel and introspection, and I just through a project I got involved at a nonprofit in Fort Collins, Colorado called Launch, it just helping them develop and grow their magazine library at their facility led me to the idea of thinking, man, maybe I could do this on a bigger level. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years. And it, it's growing. We have over 130 libraries around the world, like satellite libraries. The master archive is in San Diego, but we have Topless Pizza has a small library. Antisocial has a library, but most of them are here in the U.S. The master archive continues to grow, and we do exhibits. We've done three different U.S. tours of magazine exhibits. Some years it was like 75 stops. Some years was 50 stops, where I would just have a certain theme of 70 magazines, and put those up at a skate shop for an evening of hanging out and having some drinks and just bringing the skate nerds together to reminisce about old times and to appreciate the magazines and to get that blast of nostalgia that opening a magazine that you haven't seen in 20 years can give to an older skater that can just transport them right back in time to 1994 or whenever it was that magazine came out and they were first looking at it at their house or at the 7-Eleven or wherever it was.
Kevin, have you run into any weird collectors that have like mass weird collections? You know what I mean? Like there's power nerds out there that have big collections. But hey, okay, I guess let's talk about a cover here first. Let's go. We'll get to that question in a second here. You asked that I bring a couple covers on, and Jimmy Wilkins. Why do you want to talk about Jimmy Wilkins? Number one, he was just on the X Games and just showed everybody how rad Vert is once again. But what's up with Jimmy Wilkins? He's one of my favorites.
Me too, and up until last month, he'd never had a cover. And Mike Burnett shot this cover out at the Desert Skate Ranch out in the desert between LA and Las Vegas. And
it's so sick, sick.
Yeah,
what a rad photo.
Somebody that seemingly can do it all on transition, and just has the height. He can take things higher than most anybody can, and just has a tremendous trick selection, and
Yeah.
is just a very unassuming guy. You know, I see no ego there. I see just a down and dirty skate rat, you know, that has been, you know, consistently getting better and better over the years. And
Yeah.
yeah,
He's so
he's
sick. So
definitely
sick.
one of my favorite verticalists. And
Yeah.
and for somebody, you know, now with Thrasher being the only monthly magazine, it's like that constricts the number of people that can get a cover every month, you know. And so I
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
like for a while Jimmy had been due for a cover with the high level of technically advanced tricks that he can do, plus just the bio-ness that he displays on the vert ramp. And so I was just tickled to see he finally got a cover.
So sick. So
So
sick. Yeah. So sick. I like how there's no words too. You know, it's a good one when they don't put any words on. That kind
yeah,
of. That's a good one. So what's up with this one? The Evan Smith one. What do you know about this one here? This is the
yeah. So
latest.
this one
Latest.
I just was able to look through this mag at Prestige Skate Shop here in Boise just yesterday. I think we all kind of saw it hit the internet a few days ago. And this is the Bay Bridge in San Francisco. And I guess it sounds like Alex. This was Alex Papke's first cover, first Thrasher cover. He's been working for Thrasher for a few years now, and uh, boom, you know, he had this idea with Evan to get this photo, and I guess they both got arrested. They were able to get the photo, and as they were coming off the bridge, the police were waiting for them, and I don't I don't know the story thoroughly. I don't know if they were just booked and didn't. I don't think they had to spend a night in jail, but they definitely got booked and have to go.
Reprimanded. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they already have been to court.
Yeah.
I think the charges got dropped, but you know, it was not without paying some dues to get
But
such
they,
an epic photo.
an epic photo, the cover of Thrasher. What? Last but
Yeah.
not least, Chet Childress. What do you know about this one here? This is cool.
Well, this is, you know, Chet is an older skater, and he has quite a few covers to his name, and I did not think that we'd be seeing another Chet Childress cover, but boom, it was a sick photo. Rob Collinson, the editor at Low Card, shot that photo, I guess, sometime in 2020 or 2019, maybe even in a backyard pool in North Carolina where Chet's living now. And he did some art there on the cover, and so that is the latest issue that's out for Low Card. So, you know, a lot of times we're putting emphasis on bygone magazines and pictures from 30 years ago or 20 years ago, but that doesn't mean we're not equally interested in the current magazines coming out. So I just wanted to highlight some of the new mags that are out and available to find right now.
Yeah, the beauty of it is they keep coming out, right? And the magazines do keep coming. Every month there's a new Thrasher, and it's just super,
Right.
super cool. So you're involved with the old and the new. And like I was asking
Let's
before
not
we
forget
talked about those.
SBC.
Hey, Kevin, do you meet any weird guys that have like crazy collections, or are you kind of at the top of the hill? I think you are, in my opinion.
Am
But
I the weirdest?
yeah, the weirdest. Are you the weirdest magazine nerd out there? I wish I was you some
Well,
days. You know, I love it.
I don't like to use that word, but there are certainly some eclectic collectors out there. Sometimes I've been, our collection has been talked about as the biggest, but it's probably a toss up between Nico Vanderwall, who's a distributor in the Netherlands. He is kind of a mentor to me. He's kind of in my opinion, is the king skate nerd, King Magazine, Skate Nerd. He's run a distributorship in the Netherlands for 30 years or so, and because he's in Europe, has had greater access to all of the European magazines than anybody in the United States. Plus, he would always import all the magazines from the U.S. to distribute in the Netherlands. And he had, from what I understand, I haven't seen the collection. I used to deal with Nico when I was the international guy at Tomieto, but I never got to go to his warehouses. But apparently he has a lot of these magazines that have been sent to bookbinders and have been put in basically a whole year of Thrasher will be bound in a leather bound book. So you flip it open and there's 12 issues all in like a massive encyclopedia style binding. And, so that's a collection I'd love to see. Jay Croft out in near Akron, Ohio has quite the collection. And Steve Batten, Baltimore, Maryland he's more of a video collector, but he also has a ton of magazines and so yeah, I don't feel like anybody's weird. I feel like there's a handful of other folks out there that find these magazines as special as I do. And there's
relate.
Video collectors. There's I don't have as much in common with the board collectors. Obviously there's a lot of nerds that focus on wood. I focus on paper. There's a handful of people that collect the urethane. I have tons of old wheels.
Oh my gosh! I didn't know there was a wheel collecting market out there. Like,
I don't know how big it is, but
I could see it though. I could see it.
I know a guy in San Jose that's really into it. And
wow.
If somebody finds a complete at the grocery or at the thrift store, I send him a picture of, hey, do you know what wheel this is? And 9 times out of 10, he can get back to me with an answer pretty quick.
Super cool. But, I love it.
There's a lot of people that have little specialties, and certain things are their little niches, and Tim from So the folks at Decade and Bob Shirt, he's got such a cool collection of stuff. And
what's the hardest to get Thrasher? Is there one that's obviously the first issue of Thrasher is probably like the deadliest, but
what's the most high dollar one? But there was also in 2010, I think it's June 2010. There's the Danny Way cover, and then they also ran a cover from South by Southwest, a music cover that I have only seen like 2 or 3 copies of this.
Wow.
I don't know if they ran, only a few hundred that just circulated at South by Southwest, or I haven't really gotten a firm story on how that cover came out. But, normally when there's multiple covers for the same month of a magazine, like when Pretty Sweet came out, there was a Corey Kennedy cover, a Raven Terche,
Stevie Perez.
Stevie Perez, right, and Elijah Burrell, and
good trivia.
But from my understanding, like when something comes out like that, there's a uniform number for each of the guys that got a cover, and this one weird South by Southwest cover, I've seriously only seen a handful, and
weird.
And so I would point to that issue as being the hardest one to find after issue number 1.
Yeah. So,
Big
Kevin,
Brother,
you are collecting donations, and how much longer till you're back to headquarters? Are you almost done your trip, magazine collecting and doing your thing?
No, I'll be on the road through August. Sometime in early September, I'll be back.
Okay.
I've got some things to pick up in San Francisco and Cayucas, and so like people are always hitting me up, and I just have to kind of keep again, I end up taking screenshots a lot of the time, and then I'll add those to my email list of my tentative route home, and hopefully when I go through San Francisco, the guys that have hit me up will be available, and we can work out a way to get it so I can pick up the magazines, and hopefully I can flip them into a new library before I even get home. That's always my best case scenario when I'm on the road, because there's certain times where the van will be quite full and I don't have much room to maneuver. But, so I'm always kind of looking for new places while I'm on the road that I can just flip donations that came in that maybe I picked up 2 weeks ago, that if I can flip those into a small library at a shop that I'm maybe not too familiar with, that's best case senorio.
Rotate, right? Get them in, get them out.
Yeah.
Very cool. Kevin, I don't know. I'm going to let you go here. We had a great chat. I'm going to find you again in a couple months.
No.
You're always up to cool stuff. What?
Right. I want to challenge you to ask me 2 more questions.
2 more questions? I got a million questions. What do I want to know here? I already asked you what the most hard to get thrasher is. Let me think here. What's the most intimidating pro you've met? Have you ever been nervous or kind of starstruck? Like, it's Steve Caballero. I'm going to like mumble my words or something. Is there any pros that you were nervous around asking for their signatures?
There's 3 pros. Can you guess?
Chris Markovich.
Nope.
Mike Vallely.
Nope. Mike Vallely is the teddy bear.
I don't know. Maybe let's see, like Bobby Pulio. I'm just going off the top of my head. You tell me, Kevin.
Well, 3. There's actually 4. So Neil Blender is difficult to approach. Julian Stranger, he does not want to be bothered to talk about the past. Heath Kirchard is always intimidating, and it just depends on how you get him. And Mark Gonzalez is you feel for the guy because he's constantly being hounded for autographs. And again, everything kind of comes down to you hope the stars align and it doesn't get too awkward, because there's certain guys that don't want to talk about the past. They're not comfortable talking to people they don't know. And sure, we see them as, amazing, iconic skateboarders, but that's not how they necessarily view themselves. So not every situation is smooth, let's say. And that's why because I really don't want to bug anybody. I'm just trying to create this asset, that can be used for cool displays. And I do feel like a magazine cover is more personalized when it's signed by the guy on the cover.
Super cool.
And that's where I just kind of have to focus on the guys that are more familiar with what I'm doing, and hope that our work or our body of work with these cover discussions, or we just hope that word circulates that, hey, you should do something with Kevin, that our body of work precedes me just trying to hit somebody up in an event like, hey, can you sign these covers? And because it's easy for me to get put into a super fan or a stalker type of category, because some guy, Jason Dill, might get a little weirded out when I show up at the Supreme premiere with 10 of his covers. He's like, how did you know I was going to be here? Why do you have, and Jason's not necessarily somebody that has the time or the interest to listen to my 10-minute spiel about what I do. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's certain aspects that I just kind of have to take one for the team and accept this awkward interaction and move forward and be as professional as I can, be as courteous as I can,
Yeah.
be respectful of these guys' time, not take up too much of their time, and hopefully get a few words in there education wise to let them know that I'm not a stalker,
Yeah.
that there is a much bigger project at work here, and I want them to be a part of it, you know? So,
Yeah.
I just find that through our Instagram feed, you know, putting up a photo every day and the different covers discussions, it's all kind of building our body of work, and slowly we're getting the name out there, and people are better understanding what the goal is, and or just what it is we even do. And so so, you know, exposure like this is very beneficial. Appreciate you having us on.
I have a personal interest, Kevin. I love what you do, and I love the mags. I love reading the old ones. You sent me some cool old thrashers, super cool. I got one last question, Kevin, before we go. What's your most prized possession? If your place burned down and you had 30 seconds to run in and grab one thing, what would it be out of the Look Back Library headquarters in San Diego, Kevin?
I have one kind of, you know, the first 9 thrashers are oversized, so they fit in one of these like art binders, and so I have all 9 of those. That's the first thing I'd grab, I suppose. It has issues 1 through 9. From 81, January 81 to September 81. We need a better copy of issue 1, but we have mint copies of February through September.
Interesting.
And I know exactly where it is. And that's what I would grab if I had to just grab one thing.
Good answer. Okay, I've never seen a thrasher from 1981 with my own eyes. Hint, hint, asterisk. I actually have. I know a guy that has a couple, but we're looking into them. We're digging. Yeah. I'm glad I know you, Kevin. I'm really glad that I ran into your program. I'm a skateboard magazine guy myself. I always have been since I started, and I'm with you. I'm from a small place that I relied on the magazines to keep me in touch, and the videos were important too, of course. But right through the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, I've loved getting the new issue of Thrasher every month, and I'm really glad you're doing what you're doing. It's really cool. So I'm also really glad you took time today, and I know you got a busy schedule. You're out in Idaho right now, and it's really cool, Kevin, that you took some time to talk to us and to Skateboard Canada and everybody out there. Tell us what you're doing.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for checking in, Roger. We'll be happy to do it again in another 8 months or whatever, whenever you have time.
Post-Olympics.
See what we're up to next.
Post-Olympics, We'll have a lot to talk about. Travel safe, Kevin. Again, thanks so much for coming on. We wish you all the best, and your efforts are appreciated by many, many, many people. Know that, please. And take care. We'll see you next time, okay, Kev?
All right. Thanks, Roger.
Over and out. See you, buddy. Wow. What a guy. Kevin, what a guy. We're out. What a show. Thanks for joining us again, folks. We'll be back with another one in due time. And till then, take care. It's Roger from Skateboard Canada.